What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to more Black Desert. So today what we're going to be doing is showing you basically my node setup and everything. A lot of people have been asking me, so I figured I'd do one for 2019, and unless something changes, I'm pretty sure this is going to be what I keep. So we're just AFK fishing. I had to turn off the music because apparently it's still going for another week. It's January 9th and Christmas music is still playing in this game. No one really knows why, but whatever. It's another week of sound off while I'm playing then. Anyway, yeah, so let's start off with all our nodes. I'll try to do my best explaining like why I chose some of these nodes, but going over all of them would be pretty like time consuming. So we're going to go off starting at Olvia because that's where you start the game, I think. And then I think they changed it so you start at Western Guard Camp now. But regardless, let's start at Olvia. Then we'll go to Velia, Heidel, Calpheon. Go down to the Trent area. Then Medea. I don't really have anything in Valencia. Then we'll do Kama Sylvia and then Dregan, because that's the priority. You should be going and exploring the area. So, anyway, starting off at Olvia, we have a Grape Node, just because I don't want to have to like use farming slots for it. So, I don't really use them, to be honest, but it's just kind of just sitting there. So I just have grapes going off. In between Olvia and Velia, I have a lot of things connected, so I'm not really sure which one. I think this is like the cutoff point, like down where the dim tree is. If you made like a straight line down, most of the nodes that I have here, like if it's going left, they're probably Olvia workers, and right is Velia workers. So yeah, some of the priority ones within like the middle of both Olvia and Velia is the Coastal Cave has some iron and copper nodes. Those are pretty important. Coastal Cliff has an iron one. Basically, the way I set mine up was, so I wanted a lot of raw materials that includes like timbers and ores mostly, and I use that for processing and then other stuff. So that's why I chose some of them, whereas some of you guys may have different connections. Also, before we get too deep into this, I just want to say you should pick the nodes that you think you're going to be using in the game. Don't just copy mine or anyone else's just because I have it. What I do in terms of life skilling is probably different from what you do. So if you're just trying to make money and just like selling the like products that you get from it, that's all good. But if you plan on using it for something, then that's a little bit different. So I use a lot of timbers, raw ores, and like wheats, just because I do cooking, processing, sometimes alchemy, but not as much. So yeah, Coastal Cave, if you're gonna get something to iron ore, and this one over here, Coastal Cliff for iron. Imp Cave has more copper. I've been thinking about taking this out because I really don't need that much copper. I would say between do I still have some? Yeah, I have like over 130,000 here. Another like 200,000 copper here. And just like another, where is it? 100,000 here. So basically I have like almost 500,000 copper that I don't really plan on using. So I just have a lot of nodes going. Going downwards here, we have Tuscany Farm for the corn. I've been thinking about taking that one out. And a lot of timber and more copper. The one I chose here for the excavation was something that is like very questionable, Trace of Ascension. You use that for alchemy stuff. Trace of Earth is not really used as much. I think it's more costumes, but I'm not too sure. I really just use the Ascension ones. And Lynch Ranch, I have it for the fleece, but that one's connected to Heidel. So yeah, we'll talk about that later. We have more timbers around here, like the forest area. So priority would be the timbers and the chicken meat. I mostly use the chicken meat for the product of like the, where is it? The grilled bird meat, because that is just slightly better beer if you're using a lot of nodes and stuff. So having the chicken meat node is pretty high priority. You get one here and one here, so I would say those are the most valuable nodes too, just because people need it. So if you need it, good to have. If you just want to sell it, that's pretty high up there, a few thousand silver per. Over here, just more timbers. Going down into Heidel, there's more ores and timbers. So what you should look for are things like the maple timber. Those are like the higher value ones. There's a lot of wheats here if you plan on making the beer, but if you don't, like, you're most likely going to have a lot of grilled bird meat and beer, so you'll never run out. So the people who buy it from the market, it's probably going to cost them a little bit more while you're the ones kind of making money. So in terms of cooking, making beer is a good way to get your contribution points up, and if that's what you're going for, it's pretty good. But in terms of money, not so much. You could probably be doing something else. Alejandro farmed, cooking honey. It used to be really good, but now it's not so much. Like, you still use it, but it's not worth as much as it used to be a year ago, just because I assume a lot of other people have it, but I still have the node going. It's still good money, though you should probably use it instead of selling it. More flax. Flax occasionally does sell for around 900 per, so that's some easy money if you don't plan on using it for, I think it's, I don't really know. It's either some sort of quest or something, but the fleece used to be up to 1,000. Now it's not so much, so thinking about just dropping the node. If there are any priority ones, I would say maple timber, iron ore, the cooking honey, or yeah, the cooking honey node right here. Everything else is kind of optional. You could get the wheats and flax if you want. It's not the highest priority. I do have one connected down to the lumber camp. Well, and this place was added after Drigan. So if you have that node, cool. It's kind of expensive. I think it was about 12 CP total just to get to birch and pine. I think pine is very valuable. Birch, not so much, but I mean, if I'm going to have the extra contribution points, I just put it into something. I have the worker connected to Heidel because for some reason that's faster than connecting it to Duvenkern. So that kind of makes sense. That's why I just had a worker going down here. In terms of Glish is just kind of my storage where I just dump everything. The only worker I have on Glish is the Glish Ruins. We have the Trace of Origin. Don't really use the hunting much, but the Origin is for elixirs if you do alchemy. And occasionally if I grind, I have elixirs on me. I also have an iron ore thing. I think this one's connected to Glish. Well, it should be anyway. And Serendia Shrine. These are all connected there. Everything moving upwards is connected to Heidel. Going down into the Calpheon area. This is the one I changed up most recently. Because previously I used to have all these wheat nodes on. I took off the paprika because just never really used it. That's why I just have about 70,000 sitting in my storage that I probably won't use for a while. Down here we have just more like birch nodes and a lot of timbers. So I have about 171,000 of these. This is probably what you can find. Chase of Forest, Battle, a lot of timber, and a lot of wheat nodes. At some point, I'll probably do something about this, but until that day happens, whenever like Life Skill Mastery comes out, I'm sure a lot of you guys who play this game more than an hour a day just kind of already know about that. Yeah, so whenever Life Skill Mastery comes out and I can actually process all 170,000 of it in more than 2 months, then I'll probably do that. But until then, we're just kind of piling up resources here. I'm not really in Calpheon that much, so that's kind of like if you're there, cool. You're mostly expecting just random stuff. And this is where all the nodes are connected. Down in Quint Hill, Bree Tree, Dandelion. Yeah. So now moving on to Keplin. This area in Keplin is probably not the most valuable area. I just kind of have it to have it. We have pine timber here, iron ore, lead ore. Lead ore is not as valuable. I don't know why I have the worker there. And then unfortunately you have to use these to connect it. So in my storage in Keplin, we have a lot of coal ore. Well, we used to have a lot of coal ore. I don't know if we still have a worker on there. Yeah, we have one worker. Before, I used to have this connected all the way around up to Marnie's lab just to get another coal ore. Well, this one's coal anyway. Then I took it out. It was like 6 CP for that, and I just didn't see it's worth it. So we have coal going on, lead ore, pine timber, and iron ore. I don't really think the lead ore is worth it, but, you know, maybe one day it'll be. Then we have pine sap going. I think pine sap is very valuable, so if you ever need it for something, Keplin is probably the place you want to be for it, and this is where you get it. So in terms of value, Keplin is not really worth it, but I mean, you gotta do something with it. Now into Port Euphoria. I have more nodes than you should have connected, and the reason why is I'm just collecting all of the like dried fish because I can't be bothered to dry my own. So this is about, I would say, 6 months worth of resources that I really haven't touched. The reason why I have so many is because I have more nodes than I should have, and it's fairly cheap. However, each tick is like 2 hours long to get about, I don't know, 10 fish or something. And what you use it for is making like pet foods and all that stuff. So if you're grinding a lot, if you ever need pet food, instead of buying it off the market at like max price, I would just make my own. So this should last me a pretty long time. A lot of these are good, like dried octopus is good for advanced cooking if you ever plan on doing that. Some of this is just for regular pet food and things like that. I don't really know what all the fish are for, but primarily pet food, cooking recipes are what I use it for. And then the other stuff in Euphoria is mostly just boat parts that I may or may not use at some point. So if you didn't have enough for all of them, which one would I go for? The ones with dried octopus on it are the ones if you plan on doing some high level cooking. This one could get rid of. I would probably get the ones that are close by as well if you're just looking for non-octopus ones. So this entire area is like, do you need it? If so, get it. If you don't need it, there's probably really no point in getting it. But that's just me. I like to have it for cooking and stuff. So if you were to fish it up yourself, that would probably be a while. But once again, this is probably about like 6 months worth of stuff. So is it worth it? Probably not. And yeah, moving down to the Medea area, we have, starting at Tariff, all these workers, I would say up until the Omar Lava Cave, all of these are in the Tariff nodes, and then Omar Lava Cave going right is Altanova workers. Some of these probably aren't as worth as it should be, but I think Kamasil Temple is also Heidel connected though. So yeah, we have flax going to Heidel. And then up here, it was just kind of, I picked some nodes just because I wanted to dump contribution into something. We have some maple timber over here. This is like a 3 to 5 CP setup just for that. So it's probably not worth it, but whatever. I like the timbers. White cedar and sky mushrooms. The sky mushrooms are for alchemy. That's why I have it. But if you don't do alchemy, don't worry about this one. But once again, I like timbers. Sherry Farm, we have Sweet potatoes, I don't really use it, but I just kind of collect it for some reason. Cotton is something that sells for quite a bit. So in my storage right here, we have a lot of sky mushrooms and more sweet potatoes than I'll probably ever use in my entire BDO career, unless they do something with it. So yeah, in case I ever need the sweet potatoes, I use the special and the green ones for cooking. Sky mushrooms are for alchemy recipes and elixirs. That's why I kind of have that node. Otherwise, if I didn't grind, I probably would take that node out. We have a lot of white cedar and maple timber, maple sap. Yeah, that's about it. And cotton. I don't know how much of this, like, it is probably at least a year's worth of saving. Well, at least the sweet potatoes. I got the cotton and some of the nodes like a few months ago, so something to work into. But the sweet potato has probably been over a year, and is it worth it? Who knows? Omar Lava Cave, that one, these are both connected to Altanova, and here, like, just the Altanova area in general is a lot of ores, and if you can see in my storage, we have a lot of sap, coal, ores. It just kind of goes off. Previously, about a year ago, I used to have a Gruntle factory going in here, but I found that was like a 20 CP setup, or at least, I don't know, 14, and I didn't think it was worth it to keep it running all the time, so I removed the Gruntle factory, and now Altanova is just kind of like a collecting area, and I just kind of collect a lot of ores and stuff over here. The rhino hide was all like old stuff back when I made the Gruntle, so it's just gonna probably sit there forever until I decide to do something with it. You guys remember the Trina Captain box that everyone got annoyed with? Yeah, I never used mine. It was basically, if you don't know or you just started recently, gave you almost soft cap gear, which is around like 250, like around 250-ish AP for about a week, and then people got annoyed, so yeah, I never used mine. I was pretty close to soft cap when that event happened anyway, so yeah, then the people who used it, I guess I'm just gonna keep this in my storage forever because it's a memory that we'll never get to see again. Anyway, so Altanova, I basically have everything up here connected. Most of it, I would just say ores and stuff, and timbers, and then one down connecting, and then an iron mine. I think coal, you get, not coal. Coal is over here, and then timbers, ores. And I don't think I have anything connected in Valencia or Arihaza. It's just I can't be bothered to go to Altanova, or not Altanova, Valencia that often. Basically anything that's here is, you know, just grinding and then dump it in there with the maids. Used to have a few things connected, but I just can't be bothered to go there often. So by this point, you should be going into the Grana area. Previously, in my Grana storage, I used to go for the volcanic umbrella mushrooms and more mushrooms in general, but I reworked a lot of it. So you guys can see I have a lot of knock ore. Before, I used to have all this down set up just to get the volcanic mushrooms. Realized I didn't need it that much. It's more for alchemy stuff to make, I think it's elixirs for the knowledge or whatever. And I didn't really need it. And got more mushrooms over there. So that's where you can see the umbrella mushrooms, volcanic ones. And all I have in Grana nowadays is just the knock ore and powder of earth. Powder of earth is what you use to make costumes. Knock ore is pretty irrelevant. I don't really know what you use it for, but that's really all I have in Grana nowadays. And then I moved all of this after Drigan came out. So in Duvenkroon, we have connected to this area. We have the excavation, which we have the Trace of Origin, once again used for elixirs. I think it's the Grim Reapers. Then we have, oh, well, I think that's it. So previously we had down connected, I think it was Calk Canyon. There used to be Mithril, and then I think we all realized that Mithril was broken and it wasn't giving out as much as you would think it did. So for like it's 1 point to invest in a node, and then another 5 points per individual one. So that was not worth it. And I got 3 Mithril in about 3 days. So for the price to CP, it's not worth it. The only thing I have right now going is the Fountain of Origin, just for the Trace of Origin. If you were to get another one, you would probably want to go for the Shuriken Necropolis, and this one gives Trace of Memory. I'm not really sure what it does or what it's used for, but traces generally are pretty good. So yeah, that's basically Duvinkroon in a nutshell. If there was something to get more black energy residue, I'd probably go for that. But after Drigan came out, this one, I got it connected to Heidel, connected everything else here. And if Calk Canyon ever became good, I probably would actually put points into that. Yeah, I think that's about it. So just as a quick recap, in between Olvia and Velia, you want to get the ore nodes, timbers, and occasionally wheats. I don't really think I need that much copper because I have about like 500,000 of it. So I might remove that if I found something else. But if you were to start the game, I think the high priority ones for you would probably be timbers and ores. Since you start off on Western Guard Camp now, I don't really know what you do in Olvia, because there's like a new quest line thing, and if you were to start in here, if I think I did it once, it takes you around here and then it brings you to Velia, so I think you'd have to travel to Olvia on your own time, but I'm not too sure how it works these days, to be honest. And then once you move down to Heidel, I think the priority ones I would pick up first are probably the wheat nodes. Or if you want to go up here, I think this is copper and iron. Always take the iron over copper, because you just use it for more stuff. Copper is good, but it's not something that I would consider like high priority. Try to look into the cooking honey one, even if it's just to sell it. These nodes are, the cooking honey node is worth a little bit more than, like, let's say iron, for example. But I think it takes a little bit of energy to get the this node to unlock. So going down in here, there's a lot of ores, wheats, and timbers. I think I'd prioritize the iron ore, then timbers, and then if you want to use something to level up, flax is something that's pretty quick to do. Moving into Calpheon, there's really just timbers here. In my storage, we have some wheats. I guess I would go for wheats because you probably need to feed your workers. And though, once again, I would say the chicken meat in Velia is highest priority. So beer is not bad to make. Wheats are okay. Anything else like birch timber, it's not too expensive. It's just, do you want to process it? And if the answer is no, then probably don't get it. But I do. The traces, if I were to sell it, that's probably a good amount of money. But the trace of forest, I think it's used to make costumes that I don't do, but in case I ever do. Portaferia, once again, just a lot of fish, and use it for cooking, and I think maybe alchemy, but mostly just cooking, like good feed or high level cooking recipes. That's something to look into. We have Trent. I didn't really cover this one. I used to have more there. I used to have the node over here, or actually over here to get the cedar timber and cedar sap. Realized didn't need it. The only thing I have going is cedar timber here. And yeah, I just wanted the spirit leaf, and that's about it. So the spirit leaf used for a lot of alchemy recipes. Timber, just kind of nice to have, I guess. But connecting this one to get the cedar sap and timber is probably not worth the investment. But it's up to you, really. Keplin. Unfortunately, the pine timber and pine sap is all the way down here to get it. And it's probably worth getting. The rest of it, the connection, I would say iron ore is usually worth it. Lead ore, probably not so much, but down here, coal is right above here. The quarry is pretty high priority. So if you were to get it, expect to get pine. Yeah, pine timber and sap both come from the same node. Coal is used for a lot of things, actually, and iron ore, pretty good to get. In terms of Grana or the Kamasilvia area in general, if you grind Gyphon a lot, I think investing in the node is good. But there really isn't that many things that are worth it. In here, I only have Flondor for the Powder of Earth and Knock ore. Well, mostly just the Powder of Earth that I use every now and then. Duvincrune, Traces over here. If they ever fix Call Canyon, probably would get it. And the Medea area, I just use it for the sweet potato, timbers, and mushrooms for alchemy. Occasionally cotton, though I don't really use that anymore. Altanova, just ores. So yeah, that's basically my node connection for now. If I change things, I'll probably update it in the future, but I don't really plan on doing that for a while. So yeah, with that said, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it.